All right, well, welcome again, everyone. If you're just joining us or still logging in, see a lot of people popping in as well. Glad that you are along for the ride today. This is Matt Bear with Q4 Launch. We're going to dive into our topic today, 7 strategies to increase traffic using your blog. Excited to share this time together today. Excited to share some of the things we've been seeing really work well, especially in light of some of Google's latest changes and some of the things going on there. We're going to be sharing some of the things we've been seeing work well in that space. So without further ado, and to keep everyone on time, we're going to go ahead and dive in. One of the things that we're looking at as we're talking about increasing traffic and talking about blogging is this whole idea of the stages of travel. And we're going to dive into that a little bit, but want to kind of set up our conversation together today with the concept of that your travelers, the people that are looking for you, the people that are coming to your website, the people that are looking to buy your product, if you will, are out there and they're looking for information on your destination. They're looking for information on your business, but they don't know it yet. And we want to interrupt their travel search process and help them find you when they're looking for information about your business, when they're looking for information about your destination. So that's what we're going to kind of talk a little bit about, is how, if someone's looking for you, do we use your blog to capture that traffic? Now, you might instantly be thinking we're talking about search, and we are, but we're also talking about some other things. We're talking about social media. We're talking about email marketing. We're talking about several different strategies that all come together to tie into this issue of how do people find us. So as we do that, we're going to start talking about the 5 stages of travel. So Google released a study several years back, and it laid out what we really already knew, but it was nice to have it verified for us by Google, and that's that there's these 5 distinct stages of the travel process. The first stage that you see at the top there is the dreaming stage. People are dreaming about the vacation they want to take. Everybody loves to dream. The second is planning. They start planning that. They're doing a little bit of Google research, which it's all online nowadays. I mean, all planning is done there. They're talking to friends on social media. They're checking out blogs. They're looking for information on planning the perfect trip. The third phase, or the third stage, is booking. As a marketing company, as an industry, everybody focuses on stage 3, the booking stage, but they ignore the dreaming and planning stage for the most part. And that's huge because that's 2/3 of the sales cycle, right? The sales process really starts at the dreaming stage, continues in the planning stage, and then culminates in the booking stage. But we can't ignore dreaming and planning. So we're going to dive deep today on how to address people in the dreaming and planning stage. Stage 4 is experiencing, that red stage there in the bottom left, and then stage 5 is sharing or remembering. We kind of talk about both of those things, and there's a whole different marketing strategy to capture people in the different parts of those stages. Today we're going to be mostly focusing on the dreaming and planning stages of the vacation process or the travel process. To kind of set the conversation up today, I want you to know that the strategy we're going to be talking about today is the same strategy that we're using for our customers, and in average we see a 40% increase in traffic in the first year using this strategy. So I tell you that to say this strategy really works. This isn't just a couple ideas we threw together on a whiteboard one day. This is something that we've been doing for years and really proven that this works. And I guarantee if you take the strategy we're going to teach you today, implement this in your marketing or begin to implement this in your marketing, you will see results as well. It may not be 40%. It may take you some time to get the expertise to see those kind of results. Again, we've been doing this for years, but you will see improvement and you will see results. But it takes a consistent effort of executing a great strategy. So I wanted to set that up today. The other thing I wanted to set up is we're going to be following a story together today. We're going to be following Carrie's story. Carrie's one of our customers. She started working with us in January of this year, launched in February, so we've been with her for about 4 months, and we're going to kind of walk through her story. We're going to talk and show you some results, some actual things, actual results that Carrie has seen from the implementation of this exact strategy we're talking to you about today. So those are some big things as we kind of spend our time together today, the type of results this strategy can create for you, and then a real life story of Carrie from the Sayre Mansion in Pennsylvania and her story and how it's impacted her business. So as we do that together, keep those things in mind. You'll kind of see how that weaves together. So we talked about 7 strategies. The first strategy we want to talk about is really a foundational piece to making the entire process work. This might seem basic. If you've been in marketing for years, this is old news to you, but it's so important. We want to make sure we hit it, and that's to make sure that your blog is a part of your website. Strategy 1, make sure your blog is a part of your website. Sometimes I say that and people give me a blank stare, so I put this question in there. How do you know? If any domain other than yours is listed in the www dot, it's on someone else's site. So that says if it's www.mywebsite.blogspot.com, it's a Blogspot one. If it's .wordpress.com, it's a WordPress thing. So if there's any other domain besides yours listed there, you're actually helping someone else by all your content efforts, by all your blogging efforts. So if that's the second bullet point there, if it's separate, all your content creation actually goes to help someone else's domain name and give their domain name authority with Google. So make sure it's a part of your site and make sure that it's a cohesive look and feel to the rest of your website. I'm going to zoom in on that example I have on the screen here in just a minute so you can see it a little bit tighter. But it needs to feel like a part of your website. Think about this. If someone enters your blog and that's the first thing they see on your website, they should have a good experience because they're coming into your site there. That's their entry point. For years, web designers have been designing the home page as the entry point to a website. And it is. The majority of people coming to your site come through the home page. But a ton of people with the way search is happening, and if you implement this strategy, a lot of people will enter your website through your blog, and the blog needs to be really well thought out and designed so that when they do enter the website through there, that they have a great experience and you can move them where you want them to go in other parts of your website. If you don't have a blogging platform set up, we recommend using WordPress with the Yoast SEO plugin. You can write down that note real quick, but making it a part of your site, making the design consistent and using WordPress and designing it custom for yourself and then using that Yoast plugin. One of the other things, and we'll zoom in here on this as I talk about this, is to use a great sidebar with different calls to action. So you might see if you follow us on Facebook or if you read our blog, we reference CTA. And you might be saying, what's a CTA? Well, a CTA is a call to action. And that's really saying, okay, what action do I want somebody on my website to take? And how do I put a call to action in place for them to do that? So on the right side of this page here, which is an example of one of our customers, you'll see these calls to action. There's specific things we want someone to do. This is the home page of their blog. So this is what we call the blog index or the blog home. So if you came into the blog through this page, you would see the full experience of the website. You would see these calls to action in the sidebar. And if you went to any of these individual blog posts listed here, you'd have that same experience. And that's the importance of designing those things together. So it's really good information there. Make sure you have those designed and pulled together so there's consistency across that. And that's the big takeaway from strategy number 1. Make sure it's cohesive. Make sure that your blog is a part of your website. Have those good calls to action in place on your sidebar. Strategy number 2 is research your blog topics. So for years, people have been writing blogs about just whatever came to mind. They thought, oh, you just blog about whatever's random, whatever comes to mind, and that's not the case. You should be blogging. If you're going to take the time or energy or money, if you're hiring somebody to do this, to write blogs for you, you should really be researching and understanding what you're writing about. This is important because we want to write about things people are looking for. In today's day and age, anytime anybody has a question, the first thing they do is they go to Google and they ask Google that question. So if they're going to Google and asking Google questions about something that's relevant to your business, then you should be the person they find. If they go ask that question, they should find you. You should have the answer. So if it's something about a tourist destination or something about a hiking in your area or whatever, you should be the one that provides that answer. So how do you do that? How do you research blog topics? Google has a great tool called the Google Keyword Planner. It's a free tool within Google AdWords. So you need a Google AdWords account, but it's not a paid tool. So I didn't want any confusion there. So if you create a Google AdWords account, you can use this tool. There's a screenshot of it there at the bottom of the screen. And you can see the seasonality of searches. And I'm going to talk through this. This is one of Carrie's examples, part of Carrie's story I told you I was going to tell. But you can use this keyword planner to look at the seasonality of searches. So those blue bars represent how many monthly searches a specific keyword gets in a specific month. And these are, of course, estimates, but then it helps you know what should I really be focusing my energy on? What should I be blogging about that's going to bring traffic to my site? Because again, that's what we were spending our time together today, increasing traffic, writing about things that are going to get the traffic for you. When you look at this, and this particular keyword we have on the screen here doesn't have a ton of seasonality in it, but a lot of keywords do. So if we're thinking about seasonality of keywords, we want to be writing a blog 2 to 3 months ahead of the peak traffic for that keyword. And that's important because we want Google to have time to pick it up, rank it, share it in social media, get a few inbound links or links coming back to our blog out there for it so that Google ranks it well. If you wait till the month that the peak traffic exists, you're going to miss the opportunity to actually rank during the month with peak traffic. So 30 to 60 days or 60 to 90 days ahead of peak traffic is a good estimation and when you should be planning your strategy. We do at Q4 Launch, we do a quarterly editorial calendar. So every quarter we know well in advance the topics we're writing about this month, and that's all driven by our keyword research and driven by the seasonality of search. So trying to get that 30 to 90 days ahead of when someone's actually looking for content so we can write the content and get ranked for it. So great tool to do this. There's also tons of other ways to do this. If you don't want to use a tool or use the software, just think about the type of questions your customers ask. Think about the type of questions your guests ask. The questions they're asking you are the same questions they're asking Google, but 1,000-fold. If one person asks you that question, there's 1,000 people asking Google that question. So that's a great kind of no software, no complicated way of doing it, and you can probably come up with 10 to 50 topics just by doing that and know that people are out there looking for it. If you want to get a little more technical, you can use the Google Keyword Planner. Great free tool available for you. All right, let's talk about strategy number 3, and this is where a lot of people get hung up. Strategy number 3 is to write a great blog. So if you're going to get traffic to your site, it would make sense you need to have a great blog in the first place, right? Well, if you're not a great writer, maybe you love to write, maybe you hate to write, there's a lot of ways you can do that. So one of the things we recommend and one of the things we teach our staff when we hire new content creators for our team is to just sit down at the screen, block out as many other distractions as you can. There's some great apps actually available for that, distraction-free writing apps. Block out other distractions and don't worry about optimization. Just sit down and write a great blog. Write something that your readers are going to want to read. We'll worry about optimization later. We'll worry about everything else, all the technical stuff later. Let's just write a great blog. Let's just have fun with it. Let's write about the zip line that's coming in your area, or let's write about some great experience that you've had, or write about how your product solves somebody's problems, or some product you offer solves people's problems. So write that great blog. Don't worry about the optimization. We've also done a ton of testing. We write hundreds of blogs every month for our clients. So you can imagine we do a lot of testing as a part of that. There's been about a year and a half ago, there was a lot of buzz about how long should a blog post be. We tested lots of different lengths of blogs, and what we found was that there was no advantage necessarily to being 1,000 words or longer. So what we've kind of found as our sweet spot is to shoot for 500 to 700 words, but no less than 300 words. Google pretty much ignores anything less than 300 words as a part of one of their updates not too long ago. 1,000 words is a lot to write, so 500 to 700 is really the sweet spot. But most importantly, think about your user experience. If you have 1,000 words worth of information to share, go ahead, write 1,000 words. But if you only have 500 words worth of helpful information to share, don't force yourself to get to 700 or 1,000 and just fill it with fluff. Really focus on writing a great blog. Try to think about that 500 to 700 word target, but more than anything, make a great customer experience. I actually published a blog this morning about Panda 4.0. You can see that on our blog at q4launch.com/blog, and shared some insights on there as well about some changes happening and so forth. So there's some relevance in that blog. I encourage you to check that out. Again, just want to remind people, please do keep yourself on mute if you can so that we can make sure to not pick up any background noise. All right. The next thing here, and this is why I chose this awesome image on this slide, is to include a great image to capture your reader's attention. So we'll oftentimes put images in kind of right aligned at the top of our blog, so that image, as soon as they land there, captures their attention. So include a great image to capture people's attention. Love this image of this little guy sitting there trying to crank out his blog on pen and paper, which if you're locked to your screen every day, escaping with pen and paper is a great way to get some blog content going too. But use that image to capture your reader's attention. Also use images throughout your blog when it's relevant to the content that you're writing. So you can use images throughout the blog to break up the words when they're relevant to what you're talking about. So think about the fact people are scrolling down the page and find images that are relevant to that and size them appropriately. That's another big mistake we see people making, is they don't size an image appropriately. So they'll drop in an image that's 200 pixels wide and it just commands the page, makes it huge, or it's a huge image file size wise and it slows your blog load time down. So you put a 4 megabyte image in when you don't need that, and it really slows your speed down. So make sure you're using properly sized images in your blogs. And then that last one there, make sure to use white space. I can't tell you, there's nothing more overwhelming than getting to a blog and just opening it up, and it's like 700 words of nothing but text. There's no line breaks, there's no bullets, there's no numbered or ordered list, there's no pictures, it's just text. And the first thing your reader wants to do is peace out. You know, they're just like, I am not reading that. It's overwhelming. But if you use white space as your friend, if you break it up with images, break it up with bullets, break it up with numbered lists, use spacing and returns where it's appropriate, break that up so that your blog is not overwhelming to your user, and they'll reward you with traffic. So make sure to use that as part of your strategy. Don't overlook that piece. Strategy number 4, and appreciate people putting questions in the chat panel. We've got some great question and answer time at the end of our time together when I'm going to be getting to questions. So if you have questions, go ahead and put those in the chat panel. As so many people are, we'll make sure to address those questions at the end of our time together today. Strategy number 4 is to optimize your blog posts. So we just wrote a great blog in strategy number 3. We didn't worry about the technical piece. Now strategy number 4, we're going to focus on the technical piece a little bit. So strategy number 4, optimize your blogs for the search engines. I'm going to talk about a few things that will really help you succeed when we do that. Going back to that keyword planner, if you really looked closely at it, you'll notice that the keyword planner showed the exact keyword we're targeting with this blog. So that keyword planner was one of Carrie's examples, and it's a blog we wrote for Carrie on weekend getaways from Philadelphia for couples. So that was the keyword we were really honed in on. That was what we really wanted to get ranked for. So we wrote our blog title to match our long tail keyword. So you'll see the majority of that blog title there, Weekend Getaways from Philadelphia for Couples Like You, is almost exactly what our keyword is. We made it a little bit more personal by adding the like you there at the end, but really closely matched. So what wouldn't have been a great blog title here would have just been Weekend Getaways. Weekend Getaways, we're probably not going to rank for Weekend Getaways from Philadelphia for couples. So we're real specific on what we want to rank for to capture traffic to the site using this blog. So our blog title matches our keyword, looking back at that strategy number 2, using the keyword planner tool. And then our URL, which may be a little hard for you to see there, but your URL should match your long tail keyword. So I've repasted the URL as that bullet point, but you'll see that the end of the URL is weekend-getaways-from-Philadelphia-for-couples/ So we've used our keyword and separated the words with dashes on what we're trying to rank for. So using your URL to match your keywords. Make sure if you have a web developer that they have set your blog up to be able to have a custom URL. If you look at your blog and there's a random string of numbers and letters, that's not what you want. You want the URL to match the title. You want to be able to customize that. So make sure that you do that part of it. You'll also see that we use this nice, relatively stock photo of a cute couple, just looking all coupley there, sitting on the couch. And we use that image, one, to create that nice inviting appeal when you land on the page right away, so you can hopefully relate to that person. But what we also do is we put alt text behind that image that will tell Google what it's an image of. Coincidentally, or not so much thereof, we actually define that alt text to match our long tail keyword. So if you go to this blog and you right click on it and you say inspect image or image description or any of those different terms your browser might have, you'll see that the alt text matches our long tail keyword, weekend getaways from Philadelphia for couples. So use that image and then use the alt text behind it to go after it. It wasn't able to fit on the screen here, but one of the next strategy is to use an H2. An H2 it stands for Headline 2, and it's a way in Microsoft Word or in the Internet CMS or content management systems, you can define a headline. Use an H2 to define a secondary keyword. So our secondary keyword we were trying to rank here was weekend getaways from Philadelphia. So very similar to our first keyword. What wouldn't have worked as a secondary keyword is honeymoon destinations near Philadelphia. It's so different from our primary keyword, it doesn't work. But slight variations thereof, weekend getaways from Philadelphia, just slightly different than weekend getaways from Philadelphia for couples, actually works really well. And we actually rank for both of those keywords with this blog. So we're ranking for both those keywords with this blog post we wrote, and I'll show you a little bit more about that in one of our future strategies here. So those are some real key takeaways for optimizing your blogs to increase traffic to your site. And that's a lot on the search engine side of it. The next couple, we're actually going to dive into some of our other strategies to increase traffic to the blog or increase traffic to your website using your blog. So you've created this great content. Now what else do we do with it? Strategy number 5, and this is something that's really common sense, but I see it done poorly so often. Strategy number 5 is to share on social media. So I'm a big follower of Outside Magazine. For those of you who know me, you know I'm a real active runner and everything else. So I follow Outside Magazine, read a lot of their content. So this, as I was prepping for our webinar, this showed up in my newsfeed. So I thought, oh, that's a great example. And I want to use this example to kind of talk through our bullet points as a part of this strategy together. So you'll see that Outside Magazine has created a social media specific headline for this. So they use that headline, the 2-in-1 amphibious camper. That's not a great search headline. Probably no one is searching 2-in-1 amphibious camper. No one would have even thought to search 2-in-1 amphibious camper. But in social media, that headline really captures your attention. And then they use this description at the top here, the camper that's also a boat. So right away, they've used this custom headline, this custom excerpt to really capture my attention. And they did it well because I'm using them as an example today. But they've really captured my attention. This whole idea of boating and this whole idea of camping go hand in hand for many people. But a camper that's also a boat is a very different concept. So that's a really good job they've done here of using custom excerpt and including an image that really gets your attention. Seeing a camper floating out in this lake at sunset is very, very surprising. It's also very, very intentional. Sunsets are one of the most widely shared things in social media. So they've paired this crazy image of a camper that's a boat floating in this lake with a sunset image. So they're kind of taking several social media strategies that we know work and putting them together. If you had a puppy or a baby or some flowers in this photo, you'd kind of have the trifecta of effective social media. But they've done a great job with this post. They've also linked back to their blog. So they've used this to link back to the blog to take traffic in social media, take someone who's kind of going about their day doing the social media thing, they caught their attention, then they linked them back through to their blog or they linked them back through to their website. You can use the same strategy. I'm sure there's tons of things coming to mind in your business right now where you could be using this strategy. Another great example of this I saw was about a week ago. So I couldn't find it in my newsfeed because it wasn't there anymore. But it was a great article about 10 things you must do in Denver this summer. I don't live in Denver, but I have friends out there, so it's anytime I see Denver, it always gets my attention. And I saw that article because it was like 10 things you must do. So I was like, well, if I live in Denver, if I'm going to Denver, I must do these things. I have to do these things. So using language like that is really effective. 10 things, 7 strategies, must do, have to do, need to know, must learn, those types of languages really capture people's attention. So being able to use that type of language will help you when you're capturing someone's attention. And another big thing here on that social media specific headline, the headline that you use on your blog that I talked about being a keyword and making sure it's keyword focused probably isn't going to be the best headline to use in social media because what people search for is different than what's going to get their attention in social media. So you got to think a little about consumer behavior. We talk a lot about consumer behavior at Q4 Launch. And one of the things we know is that people respond differently in different platforms. They behave differently in different platforms. So we have to understand the way they're going to behave, understand the way they're going to respond, and adapt our marketing to address those situations. So really think about that as you're going about what you're doing there. The last one there, if you see a post getting traction, you see you got a lot of activity around a post, you wrote that 10 things you must do in Denver this summer, or whatever it is for you, you can boost or promote that post to get further traction. So a lot of times if you manage a Facebook page, you'll see the option to boost a post or promote a post. You can use that if you see something getting traction to really kind of give it a shot of adrenaline, if you will, and kind of get a spike. You'll see a spike in traffic, but you'll also see a spike in the likes, comments, and shares. So at the bottom of this image here, you'll see the like, comment, share, and you'll see the numbers. And yeah, Outside Magazine's huge. They've got thousands or hundreds of thousands of followers. So those numbers are huge for them. But what are your numbers? Are you averaging 7 likes on a post? Well, let's work together to get that to 10. Let's use some strategy. Let's be real specific to get that to 10, to 15, to 20, to 100, to 1,000, and driving that type of growth. So helping share on social media helps you reach people you wouldn't have reached before and get your message exposed to a new audience. So great opportunity there to ultimately drive traffic back to your website. Strategy number 6, and we just taught a whole webinar on this not too long ago. I had great attendance and really excited. If you haven't seen that, you can request that from us. We'll make sure to get you a copy. But strategy number 6 is use email marketing to promote to your database. Again, you've done all this work to create this great content. Now you should be screaming it from the rooftops. You should be spreading that content every way you can think of. So using email marketing is a great way to leverage that content and get it out to your database, whether those are people you get from a visitors bureau, people that are past customers, however you got the list. This is a great way to communicate to your list and give people a reason to visit your property. Give people a reason to come to your city. Give people a reason to come to your destination. So we're going to look at this email marketing campaign of Carrie's that we put together for, and we'll talk about some of the results of it as well. So you'll see several things here. We use some great calls to action, so big buttons. Was just over at a client's office not too long ago, and we were joking about, hey, where's the big button? You know, and we use big buttons a lot because that grabs people's attention, right? So it's all about big buttons. So you see that big show me my room button, and everything should be clickable. So in good email marketing, you want everything to be clickable. Anywhere you click, whether it was on purpose or an accident, it needs to be clickable because you want someone to go deeper. You want someone to go into the rabbit's hole, if you will. Get to your website. If they click on that logo, it should take them to your website. If they click on your picture, it should take them to your website. That's a mistake we see a lot of people make in email marketing and web design actually as well, is they make it really hard to get anywhere. They bury links in places that you wouldn't even think of it. Make as much clickable as makes sense. Make as much clickable as possible. So in this case, as we move throughout this blast here, we make 3 things clickable per section. So you'll see Sayre Mansion is a perfect wedding venue. That's clickable, you know, because it's underlined. The image to the right of that, that's clickable. The read more at the bottom, which is that bluish color because I've already clicked on it and it changes when you click on it, that's clickable. So one blog, one topic that we wrote about has 3 ways to get to it, 3 things you can click. And the reason behind this is there's more to it than everything should be clickable. It's back to consumer behavior. Some people want to read before they make a decision to click. Some people are very headline oriented, so they see the headline, it's exactly what they're looking for, they click right away. Some people are very visually oriented, so they immediately go to the image and they're going to click the image. Myself, I'm an image clicker. Like, I know that about myself. I'm always clicking on images, and it drives me nuts when I go to a website and I can't click on the images. So in that same way, you got to understand that consumer behavior piece and say, okay, if I'm a headline person, I got to speak to my headline people. I got to make my headline clickable. If I'm a detail-oriented person, I'm going to read this whole description here, this with your special day around the corner. I'm going to read that whole thing before I click read more. But because I read the whole thing, now my eye is at the bottom where read more just happens to fall. And if I'm that visual guy, I'm going to see that headline, I'm going to go straight to the image. I'm not going to read the description. I'm going to go straight to the image. I'm going to try to click that image because that's where my mouse is. It's following my eyes. So think about that as a little tip to help use your email marketing to get traffic back to your site. And you'll see that Go Shopping in Bethlehem, PA, using great content in our email campaigns. It's the same blog we wrote. So we've already published it on our website. Now we're sharing it in our email campaign to get it to people. This is another call to action, so that we're using great imagery in our email campaigns and a couple more calls to action in the email to get people back to our website. So one is this vacation guide, which you see some information on there, specifically a lead generation tool. And then the last is a TripAdvisor. So trying as part of our review management strategy. Did you have a 5-star experience? And then a little bit of language we've written there to help generate more TripAdvisor reviews for this for Carrie. So really helpful information, really helpful to use those opportunities. And the last thing there, we want people to take the next step. So if you've gotten this far in the email, chances are you've read a lot, you've had a good experience. Like it, tweet it, pin it, or forward it. So we're using our email now to connect it to social media. So we want to use our email campaign, connect with social media, like it, tweet it, pin it, or forward it. Love when people take these social actions on our campaigns as well. So really great way to spread our reach and get more traffic coming back to our site. Strategy number 7 is to track everything. We're huge believers in analytics and tracking everything and knowing what's working and what's not. If you talk to a marketing company, they don't want to talk about analytics, they don't want to talk about reports, chances are they got something to hide. We put our information right out on the table because we want everybody to know black and white, is it working or is it not? Is the strategy working, is the strategy not? And time again, we can make it work. But track how your blogs are ranking. If you're putting all this time and energy into those early strategies that I talked about to get traffic to your website via your blog, track the efforts. Track what's ranking. Track the amount of traffic that they're bringing. It's difficult to track exactly if you're writing 5 blogs a month, which is how many we recommend. If you're writing 5 blogs a month, it's difficult to go through and track every single one of those. It's doable, but it's difficult. But one of the quick ways to do it is to track the traffic that those blogs are bringing to your site. So we've got a screenshot here of this, the actual search result, Weekend Getaways from Philadelphia for couples. So that was, I told you earlier that we're actually ranking for that. This is a screenshot from Google. I pulled it yesterday to make sure that we were still up there. We used to be number 1. We've dropped to number 3, but we're still ranking, outranking Fodders, which is great. So ranking really well for that. So we know that. We're tracking that as part of what we do. But then we're also tracking the amount of traffic that we're bringing to the site. So I wanted to show you this. This is how we're doing this, and I'm going to switch back and forth here a little bit. But what we do, and I'm going to show you how to get here in Google Analytics. If you have an analytics account, what you do is you go to the behavior section. So down the left-hand side of your page would be a list of areas or list of sections. Go to behavior, then go to site content, and then go to landing pages and search your URL. So take your URL for this Weekend Getaways blog you wrote, if that's your blog, and search for that URL. If you do that, behavior, site content, landing pages, you'll see this information. And you can see from this information what you have. So this is the month of May's traffic information on this particular blog. So we'll see that we searched our URL. Google Organic delivered 46 visits to our website from this blog that we wrote. We had 3 direct visits, which are probably uncategorized organic visits, actually, or someone might have emailed it to a friend or something like that. 1 from AOL, 1 from being organic. But the big one there is the 46 visits from Google. So we're ranking 3rd for Weekend Getaways from Philadelphia for couples, and we got 46 visits in the month of May from that site. Now imagine 46 visits. Okay, that's great, Matt, but that's not that much. But if you write 5 blogs a month for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and 40% of them get ranked and bring you traffic, think about what that's doing over a period of time for your traffic. It's going to make a tremendous impact. This is just Carrie's story. We've got other stories with clients that number's in the thousands. 1 blog bringing thousands of visits a month to a website. So it's a really powerful tool. I want you to really take that away today. If you're writing on things people are searching for and you're doing the things right to get ranked, it's a very powerful way to increase traffic to your site. And if you're getting 46 visits a month from that and you got about a 1% conversion ratio, say you got 100 visits a month, 1% conversion ratio, that's 1 booking a month from that blog. That blog keeps bringing traffic for a year, that's 12 bookings a year from that 1 blog post. And what's that worth to you? What's 12 sales worth to you? It's a really valuable opportunity to write those blogs and get ranked for them. The third point there in track everything is to track your email marketing traffic. We're going to show you how we do that here in just a minute. And then the last is track your most popular click content. So when you're putting your email campaigns together, track what people are clicking on, because if you're getting a lot of clicks on a particular thing, then chances are you should be producing more of that type of content. If people are really reading, digesting, clicking on a lot of one type of content, produce more of that type of content, because that's what your readers want to see. So that's a way to know, okay, what should I be writing more of? Track it using your email program to see what's working. As we do this internally, we're tracking what people are clicking on as well. We track that, we look at that, we analyze that as a team to produce more of the kind of content that our customers are looking for, the people we're trying to reach. We're really tracking that to understand what we're doing. And as we do that, this is the email marketing visits I was talking about. We actually have, this is some information from Carrie again, following Carrie's story throughout our time together today. No matter where your visits compare to this, it's not the issue. The issue is helping you see what this strategy can do for you. And I'm going to show you how that compares to where Carrie was before implementing this strategy. But organic visits are at 2,300 for the month, 2,346. 750 visits specifically to the blog. That's really good. So on average, we see about 750 for an average customer. Some customers are much, much higher in the thousands and tens of thousands, but on average about 750, excluding some of our outliers that are in the tens of thousands. Email marketing visits, 518. So managing email marketing well, tracking what people are clicking on, be able to increase traffic by 518 visits just from that one portal. And this is a custom dashboard we create, so at a glance, at any time, really quickly, we can go into Google Analytics and see how these things are performing. So I really recommend, and that's probably a topic for a whole other day, but creating a custom dashboard in Google Analytics. So quickly, at a glance, you can go see the things that are most important to you in your analytics. That's not actually Carrie, but that's the best we could do with a stock photo. It doesn't look too much different from that, but wanted to throw that out there. If you know Carrie, that's not her actual photo. This is just a quick testimonial from Carrie. I talked about following her story through here. Some of the statistics I wanted to share from you as we look at that from Carrie and Carrie's story. We've been working with Carrie for 4 months, as I mentioned earlier. We've been able to increase organic traffic by 32% in 4 months. I talked about our average is 40%. That's usually after about a year. So in 4 months, we've hit 32%, well on track to hit our year average of 40%. We've increased blog traffic from 0 visits, there was no blog before, no activity, to 700 a month. Increased email marketing traffic from 0 to 516 in an average month. Increased their social media following from 0 to 1,431 a month, or excuse me, Facebook fans presently. It's probably higher now, but that's where it was when we pulled the statistic. We've increased their revenue by 15% in 4 months and delivered a return on investment of 330%. And I'm not sharing these things to pat us on the back. What I'm trying to do is help you connect this strategy to real tangible results. So if you take what we've talked about today, you take the things we've taught you today and implement them, these are the types of results that you can expect to see. Now, these things don't happen overnight. They take some time, but this is real, tangible, results-driven marketing. This isn't just let's hope it works. You implement these things, they will drive real results for you. And the most important, something we should all be really thinking about, is what's our return on our investment. And we've delivered a 330% return on investment for Carrie. So for every dollar she spent, 3.3 have come back, so a 330% return on investment. Really, really strong. A good question to ask as you're working on your marketing is, what's my ROI? Am I just investing time into this, or am I getting a real return on investment? One of the things that we do is we speak a lot and go to a lot of different conferences is you get really excited. Hopefully some of you are really excited today for some of the comments I've seen in the chat panel. There's some excited people, and we're going to be getting to those questions again in just a minute here. But one of the things I go to a conference and always feel like as an attendee or as a speaker is like, wow, okay, I'm pumped up. You got me fired up, Matt. But what's my next step? Where do I go from here? We talked for 40 minutes. I get I need to be doing these things. I have an understanding. I have an outline of a strategy, but I need a little bit more help. Knowing that, and as part of our commitment to giving back to the industry that we work in, we wanted to share some resources with you. So we wanted to lay out some clear next steps for you to take. And what we've seen is that this marketing grader report that we produce and then we talk through the report together with people is a really powerful way. It gives you a tangible, unbiased grade on how your marketing is performing so you can compare that to other people in your industry, and we have those statistics and can help you compare those. The average score we see, which you'll see there on the right, is a 42 out of 100, so a lot of room for improvement. So don't feel bad. You know, this isn't a personal thing, but it's a really good opportunity to take an unbiased look at how is your marketing performing, what's working well, and how does it compare to the industry. And then we take that and we break that down into individual areas that we talked about, social media, blogging, email marketing, those types of things, and help you get personalized advice on ideas for improving your marketing. So we do a 30-minute call together where we'll give you the report and give you tangible ideas on how to improve your marketing. Again, no charge for this. It's something we do to help the industry and to give back. You also need marketing questions you have get answered by our expert team, so great opportunity if something's been burning on your mind or you have a question about something you read, great opportunity for you to ask that question. And then ultimately, what we want to do is help you book more rooms, right? So you take all the strategies, book more rooms, sell more product, whatever it is, whatever your takeaway is, we want to help you do those things. We want this to work for you to do that. So totally free, totally great next step. So again, we're excited today. We want to be doing these things, but what is our next step? And we're going to send you an email follow-up afterwards. My contact information is going to be on the screen in a minute, but I'll also send you an email afterwards with a link to where you can get access to that marketing grader report. So watch your email inbox. You'll get a link to that report, and you can check that out as a free resource. The last one there, and a great way, something a lot of people do, is subscribe to our blog for more great tips. So the URL is there on the screen, q4launch.com/blog, but we publish a good amount of blog content, and we share really helpful things that we're seeing working. We also will notify you of upcoming webinars and things like that we're doing too that will really help you. So recommend go to the blog, and on the right-hand side you'll see subscribe to our blog. And put your email address in there, subscribe, and you'll get a copy of every blog that we publish after that. So really good resource. Really recommend if this has kind of resonated with you, if this is something that's been on your mind for a while, take some next steps. You know, don't let this opportunity pass by. Don't be a month from now the same place that you are today. Take an opportunity to take some next steps. So you've got questions. We have answers. Wanted to take a minute to actually answer some of the questions that have been popping in the chat panel here. When I do that, the way Prezi, the presentation software I'm using, works, it'll probably bounce me out a little bit, so there will probably be a few things going on the screen, but we'll dive into some of these questions. I've also got my contact information there on the screen for you, so if you want to be in touch, if you have questions, if you want to like us on Facebook to stay up to date with what we're working on, all that information is there for you. But let's go ahead and get to some of these questions here. All right, let's see our first question. All right, we have a question about if we publish a blog, does it go out live? And if we make edits, does it go out again? I'm assuming you're talking about specifically on your website. When you post a blog, it does go out live, so anybody who's on your website can see it. You can save it as a draft if you chose to, so nobody could see it, but then you'd have to remember to go in and publish it. So I wrote that blog I mentioned this morning about SEO. I went in, wrote the blog, saved it as a draft, and then had one of our expert content creators go back in and make sure that my grammar, everything was proper and established. So that's part of our quality control process we do in-house. You could do something similar. So I save it as a draft, and then I have someone else go actually publish it. But that's whatever you want to do. If you went back and made edits to an existing blog, does it go out again? It would stay live on your site if that's what you're asking. But it wouldn't necessarily republish. It would keep the original publish date, those types of things. If you are going to make edits to a blog, that's a fine thing to do. We'll actually sometimes go through, if we see a blog maybe is ranking 8th for a term, we might go in and make some changes to hope to get it maybe up to the top 5. So we'll go through and further optimize and change some things. But if you do that, make sure you don't change the URL. If Google has already indexed and the blog is ranking, or the page, applies to pages as well, don't go in and just change URLs kind of willy-nilly. You can cause some big problems for yourself there. So make sure not to do that. But editing content, editing photos, those types of things are all fine to do. So Another question from George, does the keyword planner suggest keywords or do you submit possible keywords for an evaluation? Great question. So the keyword planner, you would actually submit potential keywords that you were thinking about writing on, and it would give you some suggestions based off of that. There are other tools out there you can use that will actually, if you put in your website, it'll go in and look at keywords you're already using on your website and make suggestions based off of that. We're partners with HubSpot. HubSpot has a keyword planner tool or idea generator that you can use as well. That's a neat tool. But yeah, you usually have to have somewhere to start with to get a kind of some keyword suggestions. But if you think a keyword is one thing, Google might tell you, actually, if you change it just a little bit, there's more search volume. So that's a good way to use Google to do those things. Next question from Sarah here. Is there a rule of thumb for appropriate size and file size of image? There's not a rule of thumb necessarily for appropriate display size. It's on it if it's appropriate to the story. So if you think back to the example I showed you, I had that couple. That's not a super important part of the story, so I made it smaller, put it in the right-hand side, and it doesn't demand as much attention. If it's a graphic or it's information that's relevant to the story or to the how-to I'm writing or something like that, then it would make sense to make it bigger. So if it's just kind of something that makes it look prettier, we'll usually make it smaller, put it on the right or left align it. If it's something that's a key component of the story, then we'll usually center it and make it bigger. A great example of this would be the blog I wrote today again. If you go to our blog, you'll see that. Actually, we're all sharing a screen here, so why don't I just show you? That'll be a good exercise for us to do together. So let me jump on here, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, Sarah, and anybody else. All right, Google's Panda 4.0. So you'll see here, this isn't necessarily super relevant to the story. It's kind of an image that you land on, and it's cool. It's a cool image, but not a key part of the story. So I made it right aligned, made it smaller. Down lower, I talk about some specific client results. And this is more relevant to the story. It needs to be a bigger image, so I've made it full size and I've centered it and made it the full width here. And we're specifically talking about some changes we've seen from Panda 4.0. So that's kind of up to you. File size, though, just save it as a JPEG, and it doesn't really need to be more than 100 kilobytes. There's not a rule of thumb, but it shouldn't be megabytes. There's no reason to put print quality images on a blog. There's very few exceptions to that rule. So 100 kilobytes is a good rule of thumb, but whatever your program kind of scales it at is really the answer to that question. So another question from Sarah about tags and blog posts. Great question. The tags and blog posts, so you can put a blog in as many categories as you want to help people find it via categories. Your tags can also be used to help you identify and use to identify keywords within a blog. So if you use a tag, it can also match keywords you're trying to go after. And in that case, we recommend no more than 2 to 4 tags. A lot of people just start stuffing tags, and honestly, that used to work years ago as an SEO strategy. It doesn't work anymore. So 2 to 4 tags is plenty. If you stuff more than that, my bet is that Google probably has buried in their algorithm somewhere something to kind of discount that part of what you're doing there, or punish you for it essentially, or ignore that. So 2 to 4 tags is the answer to your question there, Sarah, and you can be a little bit more relevant and more aggressive with categories, but again, make sure it's relevant. It's all about creating a good user experience. Don't just do something to stuff it in there. It should be about creating a good user experience. Out of that will come good SEO. Question from George here. Does Carrie's ROI include your fees in addition to production, research, etc. costs? Yeah, so Carrie's ROI is actually based off of the increase in sales divided by what we charge her. So that's how that ROI is calculated. So that's how it's calculated in Carrie's case. If you're doing your own marketing, you should be thinking about the time you're investing in it, how much your time is worth. I know the question, how much do you pay yourself, is not usually answered very well, but how much is your time really worth? Any money you're spending on those things, add all that up. That's your cost, and then divide by how much growth or how much revenue gain you got from it. That's your ROI. There's lots of different ways to calculate that based on a specific scenario, but the key is understanding what's your ROI, like what works for you. Again, in Carrie's case, that's how we calculated it, and it was 330%. I believe another question here, how often do you do the marketing grader report? The marketing grader report isn't something we do all that often because it's a big time investment on our staff's part. So it's something we make available for people who join our webinars from time to time. We don't do it on every webinar just because of how much of an investment in time it is. But it's a very, very valuable tool, and what we have found is people who go through a webinar, do the marketing grader report, and start implementing some of the things, whether they do that on their own or they seek some help to implement those things. If you follow those steps, if you take your next step, every single time you see increased results. You see increased traffic, you see increased revenue every single time. So that's why we do it from time to time, because we know how powerful it is. But it's not something we're going to make available again next week because of the time commitment it is on our part. So really take advantage of that now if you're something new that you're interested in too. I've got a question here. Would you please consider doing a blog about setting up a custom Google Analytics dashboard? It would be nice to make this powerful tool more easily accessible and relevant. Appreciate that question and definitely would consider it. It is a great thing, and it is something that is a more advanced analytics thing, so it can be challenging. You can also share dashboards in certain cases, so we might be able to do something like that. We'll definitely file that away. One of the things we love to hear from you all is what webinar topics are important to you. So if, in a case like that, Michelle, thanks for sharing. That might be a great webinar for us to do, as well as a great blog for us to do. So we'll file that one away as things that we're working on. And if you have any other webinar or blog suggestions that would be helpful for you, we would love to get those. Just email me those. Let me get my contact information back up on the screen here. Email me those, and we will get that information filed away and hopefully get some content going. If you subscribe to our blog and follow us on social media, you'll know when we're working on those things. So. Awesome. Well, I think that's all the questions we have today so far. If you have any more questions you haven't answered yet, we'd be happy to answer those for you. Just drop them here in the chat panel. I'm going to hang out for a few more minutes and answer some questions if any more come up. But again, appreciate everybody's time today. Really enjoyed our time together. Enjoyed putting this together for you guys, and hope it's been very helpful for you. Appreciate that. A couple thank yous in the chat panel there, and it's been helpful. Thank you. So appreciate that. Do think about that, though. Do think about next steps and the opportunity to take something. We want to see you all invested in your success, and we want you to know we want to invest in your success as well. So again, we'll hang out for a few more minutes. If any questions come up, we'll answer those. If not, it's been great, and we'll connect with you all again soon. We'll see you on social media. We had a question about should I think of Q4 as the keepers of my SEO and optimizing my presence. If you hired us to represent you in your marketing, you would definitely think of us as the keepers of your SEO and optimizing your presence. The things I talk about, the analytics, the optimization, we're doing that on an ongoing, constant basis for our customers. It's not a set it once and forget it. We're always working on those things, always keeping up with what's going on in the industry, what's going on in SEO, and making sure that our clients are optimized and taken care of for those things, because at the end of the day, it comes back to what Carrie said in her testimonial there. We're equally invested in your success. We want to see you succeed as much as you want to see yourself succeed. So we are equally invested in your SEO, as well as your social media success, as well as your website success, as well as your blog success, your email marketing success, all coming down to revenue success, right? And we measure that as well. So we measure revenue growth for our clients to help them see, is it working? So absolutely is the answer to that question. Should I think of you as the keeper of my SEO? Yes, but it's much bigger than that. Keeper of SEO, blogging, social media, email, website. We just take care of our clients and have a very family-like relationship in a lot of ways, which is really something we enjoy and our staff enjoys. Thank you, though. That's a great question. Any more questions? We've got a few more minutes here. Question about, do we have folks that could look at my website and find possible improvements? Absolutely. That is something we'll do a little bit of as a marketing grader, part of the marketing grader. But if you have specific things, we could also do a website audit for you, which is something we do and can look for improvements in the website and chances to make those. So if that's something that you're interested in, I would recommend opting into the marketing grader opportunity, and then as we do that, email us, let us know, or email me personally. Again, my email's on the screen, and the person asking the question I know too, so I know he has it. But email me, and we'd be happy to talk with you about some of those things and share with you some ideas. But definitely. But if anybody else, if you have questions about your website, web design is a big part of what we do. So we always have ideas to share and can share from a collective experience of having done and managed and optimized hundreds of websites. So we have a lot of experience to draw on and a lot of successes and some failures as well, and things we have seen we've tried and they didn't work, and we improve and improve and improve to always make them better. Every day get a little bit better. That's our motto. So. Any last minute questions before we wrap up our time together? All right. Well, if there's no more questions, again, thanks everybody for your time. Appreciate all the comments and so forth. You have my contact. If there's anything I can do, please be in touch. Watch for that email from me. Be coming to you shortly. As soon as I get wrapped up here, I will send you an email, and we'll look forward to talking to you again. Looking forward to some personal conversations and personal follow-up with you as well. Hope everybody has a great day.